How quickly they forget. Welcome to the City of Brisbane's Open Space and Ecology Committee meeting of April 23rd, 2005. I don't need to read all this anymore, do I?
Nope, you don't. No.
Okay. So, roll call. I'll start at your end.
Erin Becker.
Julie Armstrong.
Anthony Walker, I am here.
Oh,
Is that on? Hello? No? Maybe.
press the button. Here, say it here.
Who? There we go.
There you go.
Anthony Walker, hello, I am here.
This way now.
Okay, Barbara Ebel here.
Rohendra Atapatu here.
Mary Rogers here.
Michelle Salmon here. So we have all of us tonight. How exciting. Do I have a move to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a move to adopt the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Are there any announcements? I have two announcements. This Saturday, April 26th, we have a Habitat Restoration Day that is co-sponsored by OSEC and by the City of Brisbane's Park and Rec and San Bruno Mountain Watch. And if you'd like to sign up, go to mountainwatch.org and sign up, please. There will be t-shirts and lunch, and it's going to be fun. We're going to be pulling broom up on Clippy Hill. We meet at Rockren, and it's from 9:30 till noon. The second announcement I have is on May 3rd, we have another Habitat event, and this is something new that we haven't done for quite a while. We're going to be working in the frog habitat on Cypress Lane, and for that, you want to sign up with the City of Brisbane. This is co-sponsored between the City of Brisbane, OSEC, and Paul Buscow will be leading the habitat restoration on the frog habitat. We're going to be doing some selective weeding and planting along the Guadalupe Trail and cypress structures. So that is Saturday, May 3rd, 9:30 to noonish. And on the same day, concurrent with that, the Mission Blue Nursery, San Bruno Mountain Watch Mission Blue Nursery, will be having our spring plant sale from, I think, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, something like that, 9:30 to 2. Anyway, it's a great time to get some native plants. Those are the announcements I have. Is there any oral communications, any online? Okay. Since I wasn't at the last meeting, I cannot, even though I watched the tape, I cannot vote on the minutes. But does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes, or are there any changes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
All those abstaining? Aye. Okay, old business. Consider process and possible subcommittee for OSEC Baylands Draft EIR review.
Go ahead and go to the next slide. So now we have the draft EIR as of April 3rd. So the chapters were a little bit different than we anticipated based on the specific plan. So what we've done is listed the chapters that don't have a name assigned, and we added the page count so that people can see if they've bit off more than they can chew, or if they feel like they should step up and do a little bit more. So we're open for discussion, and then also if you guys feel like a subcommittee would help in some way, or I guess anyone wants to pair up and as a subcommittee tackle certain parts.
Well, I would like to, in addition to the cultural and tribal resources, I would like to review the biological resources as well. But I'm willing to do population and housing too, since I don't work full-time anymore. But I think it would be good if we had more than one person on each one of the chapters. The other thing I'd like to say is I do have a printed copy, so if anyone wants their section, let me know, and I will take it out of one of the 3 giant binders and put it in a small binder if you want to work on a paper copy. I find that it's much easier for me to do that, and if anyone else wants to do that, I'm happy to deliver it to you.
Hi, everyone. Excuse me. I'd just like to note that there are now 21 sections under Chapter 4, and there are 10 chapters.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry,
can
say
show
that
the-
again,
show
Dolores.
the second page too.
There are 21 subsections under Chapter 4 and 10 chapters total.
Oh, we're missing some. Okay.
Yeah, there was, it couldn't fit all in one page, so.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. Well, who wants to do what? I guess I could take Wildland Fire too. That's kind of small, and I did it for the last, for the,
Can we talk about Chapter 4, Section 21, Program EIR mitigation measures? Does that relate to all of the other sections ahead of it? So that should be all, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
it should
Or,
be.
or at least all that relate to your other sections in Chapter 4,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So maybe what you're saying is, in a way, everybody should look at that
Yeah,
because
Mhm.
they've taken different parts of.
as, maybe all, comma, as applicable.
Okay.
And what is a subsequent EIR analysis?
Yeah, that's new. It has to be.
I haven't read that myself.
Okay.
We could.
Can we,
could
can we,
pull it up and open it if you
yeah,
want.
can we do that? Sorry.
Give us a minute.
So a question on the process. The last time we
Oh,
went through
wait.
this, we used an Excel file to populate all of our comments. So we're using that again this time.
Yeah,
When that
Adrian
Adrian
sent
I think
that
it was,
around.
I think it was MS Word, but yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, she did send that like a month ago.
I forgot I didn't have 313. All right. So I guess I won't be doing biological unless I don't run out of time, because I have hazards and hazardous materials. I forgot I had that.
I'm making good progress on that one,
Good.
so.
If you want to talk about it at all, let me know, because I did the original draft EIR.
Yeah, I reviewed all the Corey comments just for reference, so that was helpful.
Good.
To see.
Okay.
Can everybody see this okay, or do I need to zoom in or out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that one sentence, right? Many of the physical environmental effects that would result from the 25 specific plan, blah, 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 that were not previously identified in the program EIR. Ooh, okay. These are new, all right. Substantially more severe environmental impacts. That would be in all.
Can you scroll down to see if there are sections in it or if it's? Oh. Keep scrolling.
We keep scrolling down.
Keep scrolling.
In for a header.
That's,
yeah,
yeah,
we could
probably
show that.
watching the quick launch, or the quick launch on the left is the better.
There we go, land use and policy, population housing, so after 9.3.
Okay, so I think we're gonna have to do another all as applicable, because it looks like section 9.3 is
Mm-hmm.
potentially applicable to various members.
Okay.
I like that, it's better than reading the whole 100 pages.
Right. All right.
So let's go back and look at what's missing. Can we go back to the first page for a second? Let's see, that's So,
I can add 4.2 to my section. It's just easy, and I'm already reading 4.3. I'm really happy to volunteer for 2 pages. You're welcome.
good on you,
I
Erin.
know.
Thank you on
I know.
behalf of everyone.
And I'm not a population and housing person, but I'm not sure anyone else is either.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know, the option is that you do not review and comment on that because
Oh.
Oh, I
others
think-
will.
Okay. So, population 4.4 for population. That's 33 pages. Okay.
We could put any if time and effort remain.
That's 4.7.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah, I think I might like to look at that one, the population and housing.
Okay, thank
oh,
you.
good.
The title of 4.2, that one, just given the way they've titled it, it was sort of like, well, that'd be a great place to hide stuff if you're, somebody should look at that.
Wait,
Yeah, no,
Look at
that was
look at
kind
the-
of my thing too. It was sort of like the fish hook and the eyebrow thing, like,
Right. Say, don't look over here.
well, there's another 2-page section on the next page of contents that says that effects that are significant and can't be mitigated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, stuff that
Significant,
yeah,
unavoidable environmental effects.
yeah.
I think we should all read that
I
section.
agree.
420. Yeah.
Sounds significant.
And then, does anyone want to do wildland fire, or it's 14 pages, or? Okay.
It's got an interesting title. I'll read it if nobody else will, I guess.
The fire?
Yeah. Why not just call it fire and not wild? Why is it wildland fire?
Because that's the popular thing to call it.
It will be developed land, though.
Yes, it will.
It seems like growth-inducing effects kind of goes in with population and housing in a way. So it's only 10 pages.
I was looking at that one too.
Maybe bundle those.
Of course, we don't know what the effects are, but
And they don't define what kind of growth.
right, you got to read it.
Okay, so, and then subsequent EIR analysis.
That was all as applicable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Do
we have
we-
all of them covered?
I think we just did.
9.3, yeah.
Way to go. So in a,
You
Just
didn't have
to
another
finish-
page to bamboozle us with, Dolores? Okay.
so if nobody's paired up now, we've all just picked individual.
I'm sorry, what?
Is your microphone on, Karen? 'Cause
Yeah.
I can't hear you at all.
Everyone is individually looking at stuff, so you don't need to.
Can we
meet
go
as
back?
Subcommittees.
Well, she's looking at that. I think the answer is yes. It worked out pretty well, and then everyone's on their own schedule and whatnot, so.
And then,
And Molly or Adrian will have to,
nobody's on 6, I guess?
I think.
growth-inducing effects?
Yeah,
I have Anthony, I
Okay.
believe, on that one.
okay.
So Dolores, will you send this assignment out to everybody? Okay, and then if anybody wants the hard copy of your section, let me know.
I think I might. I started reading the online and I just kept playing like,
Well, one of the nice things that I found when I did the
yeah.
the core draft EIR is that I'm reading the one, and then I had the acronym list, and then I could quickly look up wherever it referenced the thing on the computer, so I didn't have to keep making a mess all over. It was still tedious.
They have it in a binder at the library, and
Hmm?
it's nice to sit outside in the sun at one of the tables in front of the library with your dog and cruise through 100 pages of it.
I'd have to get a dog, Julie, and the
Yeah.
cats just don't want to
And
do it with
she
me.
she had some insightful comments.
Yeah.
So it's good.
But
Okay.
the library doesn't like you scribbling in the margins, so.
No, I just took notes in my notebook.
So are we ready to move on to?
No, I have a couple of just other comments. Adrian had proposed looking at the comments in the next few months so that we don't all wait to the end. And she has in here about, are we going to comment on the Baylands specific plan itself still, the committee? Would be the first question.
That is a question.
We did have names assigned on that as well.
I think that for this first pass, let's focus on the draft EIR. And if you see anything in the draft EIR that raises a red flag, then we backtrack to the specific plan. Does that sound like a way to move forward?
Yeah, that's okay with me. Let me just lay out the schedule that she had proposed was June comments on the specific plan itself, July comments on the all reviewed sections, which we talked about, and then August, the individually reviewed chapters. And these are gonna be due to staff Tuesday, August 19th, 9 a.m. So
Well, that'll be after our meeting. I mean, before our meeting, won't it? Our August meeting?
yes, so then we can send them out to have them at our meeting on whatever date it is in August. It's not written down here, and confirm before, so we can send them on. So all reviewed by July, unless we try to make a goal in June for something, if we want to split this up and try to have something done by June.
How does the committee feel? June's pretty soon.
I was working with that deadline.
Yeah.
I can't be here in June, but Mary and I did a pretty thorough job of our sections of the Baylands specific plan before, so I think it's fine if between the notes and you being here, I'm good with missing that.
Okay. So do you want to send that schedule along, get Dolores to send that schedule along with the assignments? Okay. And if you can line it up with the sections that each person's reading with the sections in the specific plan, that would be really helpful. So that someone would know which section to go to automatically. And maybe Dolores also, poor Dolores, we're so grateful you're here. Can you also add the link to this specific plan in the email and the link to this so that everybody has everything they need in one email? Great. Okay, I think, any more questions on this? Are we ready to move on? Oh, good. Now we get to do exciting, fun tree stuff. New business. It starts with the frog habitat update and volunteer events. Oh, wait. Old business subcommittee. And then item D on the agenda, I guess we already talked about it, but should I just mention it? This is the printed copy you gave me, so. This is,
Are you sure that's right? Because here's
No.
the agenda for tonight.
Wait. Oh, maybe that was the minutes.
Yeah.
That was the minutes.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
I'm all right, sorry. We're
Inez,
starting with this page now, public tree inventory.
I just had a quick question for.
Yeah.
Is anybody tracking the registrations for the frog event? I'm just wondering, is it already full?
You are at 21
Yeah,
as
I
of today,
figured.
so almost there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Registration for what?
For the frog habitat.
Oh, frog
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
we
me.
limit it to 25.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So we've got
Good.
public tree inventory and management plan. So Bob is going to walk you through the tree hub site that has the tree inventory, and then we'll talk about the management plan at the end. Take it
Karen,
away,
I
Bob.
don't know why, but it's really hard to hear you.
can't
Is it
hear
your
you now.
microphone or?
I think I don't project well. Is that better?
Just gotta get close.
It's the
and personal.
Seinfeld low
Pretend like you're
talker
doing
episode.
karaoke or something.
We're all gonna end up in pirate shirts. Okay.
Huh?
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, Bob Sage, rock star.
Yeah.
Ah,
Hi,
So
Bob.
nice to see you, Bob.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Michelle. And
can't-
so I'll just give a brief background to the new members that I haven't met yet. I had worked with the OSEC committee for a couple years in between and overlapping ADJOURN a little bit when it's been a few years since I worked there, but I have been quite busy GISing and we will go over that now. So let me try and share my screen. It says someone else is sharing and I'm not allowed to share. If someone in the room can figure that out. Let me try again. Okay, there we go.
Now you can see
Okay.
all of us.
Yes. All right. Are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So when we did the tree inventory, it came with 5,000 trees approximately, and each tree had about 43 attribute fields, which led to 215,000 unique data points. And so it took us some time to compile all that into an easy to digest tree inventory. So I put together this hub site, which we'll share the link out to after the meeting, that you'll all be able to open and play with and explore. So I'm just going to give you kind of a quick walkthrough and not do a deep dive into here, so you can each get out of it what you want. So this hub site has a bunch of the data. We start with the city-owned tree map, and then we use that map as a background for a tree health dashboard, tree diversity data, and identified some growing spaces and land use and potential planting sites. And then how we came up with a management planning app based on the data. We built some Canopy data, which I think some of you have already seen. And then at the bottom, the little definition of what is GIS for those of you who don't know. The simple version is if you look at Google Maps on your phone and you click on a restaurant, the restaurant and all the related data is all stored geographically in that map. So if you think of, instead of restaurants, we're looking at trees and all their data. And then this link, what is GIS, takes you to a pretty sophisticated web page that explains it. If you're curious more about GIS, you can scroll down and look at that. And so now I will, just a second, I'm going to stop sharing and reshare so I can put this in presentation mode. Okay, I'll share again. Okay, are you seeing me now? I just got rid of the title bar at the top so we have more room to see. So when you open this city-owned tree map, you click on any of these thumbnails and it'll take you to the map. And so this is just a basic map, and it has all the trees that were mapped on city property and the public right-of-way in Brisbane. And it's pretty simple looking on its own. And if you go over to the right-hand side and you click on the layers button, you can see it's alphabetical of all the different species of trees that the city has in Brisbane. And then you can close that out. And if you scroll in on the map, the further in you scroll, the more details that come up. You get into a certain level, and all these blue properties with gold, those are all city-owned properties. And then if you scroll in even farther, we'll get some aerial imagery that pops through so you can see where you're at. Street names will stay there, and you can click on any tree in the map with your mouse, and then you'll get a pop-up, and it'll tell you that's the Monterey Cypress, the closest address, and it goes through those data fields I mentioned. And so it's good condition. The date added was when they did the inventory. It's got the diameter of breast height, the genus, and again, you can click through there and see the different data for each tree that you would like to see on the map. And so I don't know if this will be that useful on its own because this map is embedded in all the following apps. So to get out of whichever app you're in, you just go back up to the heading that says Brisbane Tree Inventory and you click there, takes you back to the top. And then we go to the tree health dashboard. And you'll have to apologize, or I apologize, because this is pretty data heavy. So sometimes these apps take a second to load. There's a lot of data points that it's processing.
Bob, just to
So-
clarify, that is just the Brisbane-owned trees on city property?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They did not inventory all the private trees, and then just for the amount that was spent on the inventory, they did not go up into all the upper acres because the budget didn't allow for all the trees.
Okay,
We hit the cap, so there are some trees in the city-owned properties in the upper acres that we did not have the budget to capture. But we have, a huge percentage of our trees are in here.
thank you.
And so if you notice on the map, if I zoom in, if you look on the chart on the right for the condition of the public owned trees, the top right, if I zoom in, that chart updates by what's visible on the map. So that's why the chart and those things are changing. So everything's pretty interactive. So if you get lost, your best bet is to go back out, click in and start over, because it all changes just by scrolling and clicking. So if you want to know the bottom chart, they have top 10 species of dead trees. And you can click, if you click on the dead trees, the bottom chart doesn't change because those are all the top 10 species of dead trees. But then if you click on the good trees, the bottom chart disappears. So that's what I'm saying. They're all interactive. So now of the 2.6 thousand good trees, that's how they ranked the health of the tree. Those are all shown on the map to the left. And if you click back in the good tree chart on the white space, it resets everything. So then if you want to see all the excellent, or I guess I clicked on all the poor trees, there's 7% are in poor condition. And then excellent trees are 78 trees in excellent health according to them. So again, when we share this out, you'll be able to deep dive and play with these as much as you'd like. And now for the tree diversity data, similar looking map and app, we have a page. They gave us an executive summary that is a little hard to read through because it's just, page after page of text, but we took the main thing they pointed out, and I'll back up actually. So I'll come back into this one. So Planet Geo is an international tree consulting agency, and they work all over the world. So they're the ones that perform the inventory. And then they provided an executive summary, which if you want, you can download it here on the top of the screen and you can read through it. It's just kind of hard to understand all the data if you're reading the executive summary. So we tried to recreate everything in the executive summary in these apps that are a little easier to interact with. So I'll go back into here. So in Planet Geo's executive summary, one of the main things they said was, for a healthy tree ecosystem in your city, they call it the 10-20-30 rule. You don't want more than 10% of any one species of trees, nor more than 20% of any genus, nor more than 30% of any family. So of the top 5 species, we're just barely over 10% with eucalyptus, and not much. I don't even think it's 11%. And then for the genus rule, the top 5 genus, we meet that rule. And for the top 30% of any family, we meet that rule. So overall, pretty great tree diversity. And then this blue button that says view map, you click on that, and then there's some instructions on the left-hand side, and you can get back to the first page diversity report by clicking that blue button, or you can just collapse that. So this map and chart works the same as the other one. We have 571 blue gum eucalyptus, and if you click on it, it shows you where they are on the map to the right, and it gives you the diameter at breast height range. And then if you want to see how many of them are 24 to 30 inches, you click again, and then it'll reduce the map down. So you can really start to visualize which trees are in which map, or the trees listed are on what map. And so to get back, you can click back on it. And this one might be one of those ones that if you click around too much, you might be better off to go back out. And I talked to the GIS company, and they were like, man, you're processing a lot of data. So sometimes it does get a little clunky. So if you have to click out and click back in, that's a pretty quick process. And then the growing spaces and land use was, they identified potential planting sites in our city. And so for this map, the potential planting sites have this green and white icon. And if you zoom in, they're not overlapped. They're just super close to each other. But they came up with the land use category. They came up with that, and they said that we have potential planting sites, small commercial. So if you click on that, they're calling that Crocker Park and out by the marina. And so the same thing, you can either scroll or click on the legend or on the chart itself. And the potential planting sites identified by growing space they categorized it by medium planting strip, other cutout, or other unmaintained. And again, if you want to dive in, you can click and see what those are, and then you can zoom in and take a look and see what those are. And the trees, this works a lot better when I'm not on Zoom, 'cause when I was practicing this all afternoon, it wasn't freezing, but I think the Zoom thing is making it refresh a little bit. So this is for potential planting sites, but they have those same categories for the trees. So here the trees are kind of 50% transparency. So if you click on the tree data, we get the same charts and the same graph, but this time for the trees with the planting sites kind of grayed out. So same thing, they identified the tree locations by land use, and they have that categorized by park, vacant, or other, single family, industrial, large. And then growing spaces for city trees, how many trees are in the median, how many trees are in the planting strip, front yard, etc. So all this is interactive. You can see which trees are in the other unmaintained. And then if you're curious about those trees, same thing, you can zoom in and pick a tree and you can get the pop-up for that tree. That's a red claws tree near 400 Sierra Point Parkway, and you can get all the data. So all the data from that original map is available in these downstream apps. So you don't have to continually go back to one map, but you can get this added categorization through the charts. And so on the next one is the City Trees Management Planning app. And this is what we put together to help us visualize how to approach the management of these trees. And so the trees with vines, I know, Michelle, that's a big concern of yours. So here, these filters, there's no charts here, but these are trees that they observed with vines, city-owned trees. So if you hit the filter there, there's 318 trees observed with vines, and those show up on the map, and you can scroll and see which ones there are. And then they're only showing the first 100, but if you keep scrolling down, it'll add to this list. And that's just the limitation of the program is. So if you scroll to the bottom, you'll get all 300 trees
Bob,
shown. Yes.
this is Mary. Is there a way to drill down to understand exactly where those trees are? The trees
Yeah,
with
you can-
vines, so we would know like Klamath Street or Monterey Street or the address.
Yeah, you can go to this map, and then you can, if you want, you can go on the map, and then the street names pop up, and you can see where you are on the map.
Are the GIS coordinates part of what's in the tooltip? Can you get the GIS location and then look at your phone and know where you are?
So if you're looking at this
So
top map here, I know exactly where that is. And those are some of the trees that I've been trying to get ivy off of that grow in the Sierra Point Road Canyon there. That
So to
whole
answer your question,
canyon
I
is
have not,
infested.
I have not tried this on a mobile app because this, on a mobile device, it might show up as a blue dot. I can design an app that shows up on the blue dot, and I had considered and had prepared some stuff. So if Adrian had mentioned potentially volunteer vine management plans.
Right.
So I'm working on an app just for that, but I don't have that on the hub site tonight. So for moving forward, Mary, yes, we will be able to get you something that has those trees. So if you're on your phone, you can see it right on your phone. And I'm actually working on one that takes away the trees that don't have vines and just leaves that.
But would you,
I was anticipating you wanting to have something like that, but
yeah,
that's not in this particular,
I
this
guess
particular app.
the information
Yes.
I'm trying to pull out, I was trying to play with this, and is there a way to pull the data out on 2 sheets of paper that tells us the address of each,
Oh,
for each tree that needs work, each tree that has vines that we need to address?
Yes, you see these 4 dots at the top that say
Yeah.
actions?
Yes.
If
Okay.
you click on those,
Uh-huh. So you
and then
can,
you go to export,
okay. And then if you,
export to CSV.
okay. And will it give you the address?
Yes, it gives you the nearest address that they put in.
Oh,
So-
okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, look at that.
So if
Okay.
you have to do some formatting,
Yeah, that's
want, like-
fine. Yeah.
but then if you go to, this does have the latitude and longitude, but it's also got that address field. So the closest address is column B. So
Okay.
it tells you
Yeah.
where they are. But
Oh,
where's
Okay.
the Latin line?
if you're going to organize some sort of volunteer event, I have been working on a vine volunteer management app that would be simpler and leave out the trees that are not covered in vines. And then you could use your phone with a little blue dot and just go there. And then you can actually record if you've done the work. So let's revisit that, whether it's a subcommittee meeting or whatever. I can get that out to you pretty quickly before you need it. So I don't think you'll have to print out an Excel spreadsheet and
Very nice.
start using a highlighter.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Old school.
But yes, so I was going to go into that, but yes, so from here you can grab that. So to clear that, you just hit the trash can and then that filter goes away. So same thing, there was a field for wires present and conflicting, and then PG&E will trim trees that are conflicting with their electrical wires. So we made a filter, and our field crew management staff is getting in touch with PG&E to investigate to see if any of the trees shown here with wires, PG&E can do a flyby and will trim back the tree from the electrical wires, which would be the biggest health and safety thing. And so that was the other data we extracted from the tree data. And then for the management plan app, their fields were quite confusing of how they came up with some of their data points. So we aggregated based on the different fields and the tree condition. And like I said, out of those 43 fields, there was a lot to go through. So we came up with a 3-phase management plan app that our crews are already working on, because originally when we did this, there was, I think 67 or 69 trees or something. And Keegan and the crew have already addressed some of the ones that were the highest priority to manage, with damaged limbs or whatever they had. And so this one just shows the trees, and you can overlap the filters as it gets a little busy. So through this one. So anyway, we have 3 phases of management plans that we're going to be working through for the next 5 years or so, which helped us identify to prioritize the trees, because the tree experts, grabbed all the data points. And so going back out, so when we share this out, any of these that you want to dive into, you'll have at it. You can play around with it, click on them. And then I'm not sure how many of you are involved with the Canopy. I know some of you have already been working with Adrian looking at Canopy data. And this is just trying to capture some of the data. The Planet Geo had a Canopy data available only till August. And so I went through and grabbed it. And this kind of take it a little bit with a grain of salt, because this was just an AI interpretation of an aerial imagery. And so they had 2010 Canopy data and 2022. And so this map on the left, you can zoom in and it just shows which had both, but that one's kind of hard to see. So the map on the right, you can swipe between the 2010 and 2022 data. The background aerial imagery is locked on 2022 data. So the when you zoom in far enough, the aerial imagery, once it shows up, doesn't change, but you can kind of see if you're concerned about a certain area. And the Canopy data, since it was AI from flyover imagery, does have private tree data that it captured. So it's not just public trees data. But anyway, it looks like they missed all these trees here, which were definitely there in 2022. So again, this one it's okay. It's just not as accurate as the individual points they went out and collected one at a time. But then the other thing, here's another link to the website that's live until August 2025. And this just is kind of recreating what they are showing there. But they also had it by census tract. So if you click that button on the bottom, this explains the app. And if you click in, they just had the changes by census tract and which census tracts got more data or gained trees and which lost trees and which stayed the same. And so again, you can click in here and then it'll tell you the tree canopy change from 2010 and 2022 is 0%. Over here on the Levinson parcel, 17% more trees in that 12-year span. And so some of the places in town. And again, this census tract is taking both private and public trees. And it's just the overall citywide canopy data based off AI and then aggregated with census tracts.
Can I ask a clarification? When it says canopy, is that square foot or is that number of trees?
I think I'm pretty sure it's square foot. It's because
It's square foot, but
Yeah.
again, when I looked at even their data, it's an AI interpretation of aerial imagery. So I don't know that it always captures the difference between, scrub and tree cover. But
Thanks.
for, it's as good as we've got. And again, the imagery in the background doesn't change to match what they gave us, the canopy changes. You can go back in there. So I'm calling this one pretty good, but just the technique to gather that they use to gather the data. And I got the data right from them. So this was just, like I said, AI interpretation of an aerial photo. So it's 100% accurate? No. Is it a pretty good snapshot? Probably. So anyway, but we will share this out so you guys can play with it and dive in. And then if there's any, you can kind of see up near Old County, it looks like, scoot over, it looks like maybe some trees came out over there, or the AI interpreted different. I don't know. But anyway.
Well, we did lose our big Christmas tree,
Yeah, it was festival tree.
the festival tree.
Yeah.
Where you
But
can
anyway, so
where you can really see a huge differences on Tulare Hill.
Yeah.
This radical difference with the
Yeah.
loss of trees up there.
So Bob,
yeah, so this
does-
will be shared out. And then as far as website navigation, it's kind of like any other website. And I don't think I can click out of it, but you'll have the address bar at the top. I just got rid of it for the presentation view, but it's just like a regular website. So anyone will be able to get in and look at it and play with these apps and explore to your heart's content.
So Bob, does the city own the underlying database?
Yes, we have those. They gave us those. That's what we got for the submittal, were those GIS points. And then it took me, quite a while to build out all of these dashboards and stuff to interpret it, which again was based off of some of the things they mentioned, the executive summary. And the executive summary had more charts and Excel tables to try and explain that data. But there's a few other things, like their potential planting sites. They had that originally baked in as a tree, and it showed up under tree species. So even their executive summary, it looked like potential planting sites was a species of tree. So I had extracted that and made a separate layer. So we definitely took their data and then went farther with it than what
Yeah.
they presented.
My point is there's a misspelling of the genus for Toyon. It's Heteromeles. It's misspelled in the tree diversity chart. I would assume that would be a simple one-part correction in a table in the database, but it is misspelled.
Well, it might be, but they're grabbing that. I'll look. I've made a note and I'll look into that. But if they misspelled it in every,
Yeah, it's misspelled everywhere that it occurs. I looked at what we gave, but we had it's Heteromeles.
wait, can you say that slower? HET.
Eromeles.
You might have to take that up with Planet Geo.
Yeah, I will see if that's an easy fix. I'll look at that.
Yeah, if it's a relational database, it should be an easy fix.
Yeah, I'll have to fix it in every instance then, because if they must have misspelled it every time.
You might be able to do
Good.
find and replace all, but I don't know, global. But I don't know. That's not I don't care, honestly. I know what it is,
Yeah,
misspelled or not.
good point. I will. I got a note. I will look into that, because I did make a couple copies of this tree map. Some of them that display differently, like in the growing spaces. I might have to change it 4 or 5 places, however many times it shows up. But I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Bob, this is absolutely marvelous. You never cease to amaze me.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Bob
This
is a treasure.
This is cooler than anybody else has. This is awesome.
I have to admit, this was the step out of digital mapping and into apping and website and that kind of thing.
Wow.
A lot of learning in this one.
We should make money by selling your apps to all the other people who use Planet Geo.
Yeah.
We should make money by selling. I drew all these icons. These are custom.
Well, of course.
Of course you did, Bob.
This is just, it's so amazing. I'm just blown away.
Thanks. I liked the tree health. I thought the stethoscope was
Yeah.
a pretty good touch.
I love it. I love it.
I tried really hard to get the stethoscope around the tree and it just looked confusing. So I was like, all right, I'll go side by side.
Well, the tree exactly exemplifies a sick looking, Monterey pine. It's perfect.
Yeah.
God.
Well, I appreciate all of your enthusiasm. I knew you'd like it, and I apologize it took me a while to get there, but it was a lot to sift through and sort out.
Wow. I hope we're worthy of it.
There's probably almost as much as you see here in trial before we dialed it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm gonna throw some accolades to the city too, and Randy, you're here, so I'm looking at you. But
Yeah.
Karen and everyone else, finding budget to pay for this and getting it done, and Bob's time making this fantastic, what'd you call it, hub thing, and then having a 5-year management plan, which I assume you guys want to pursue, that is, addresses those trees systematically, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a perfect segue to what we're asking of the committee now.
Yeah.
Is that what we found in this management plan is the priority trees that some need to be removed, some are dead, some need trimming, some have vines, some have, power lines, some are risky. And I don't remember how many, Bob, it was 300 something, high 300s, right?
Of what?
Of trees in the phase 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
So we did an estimate of what that would cost, and it's $500,000.
Yeah.
And we happen to be working on the budget for the next 2 years to present to council. So we're asking what OSEC's recommendation is in terms of that money. So the 5 years is what we've batted around, but we've got to ask the council for that money. So do we think it should be 5 years, 10 years, 7 years?
And there's not much in that, there's not much out there right now, right? I think I read, what, $15,000 or $17,000 that's sitting out there for trees.
Well, I think
And I'm assuming this doesn't cover any of the planting we want to do. This is just,
exactly. So we do have operating budget that we annually use for trees. And we do, let's say this data isn't perfect. They may have missed a couple of city trees. They may have included some that aren't city trees because they used our property line map, but they had it on an app out in the field. So we have a number of general fund budgets and other actually that fund tree trimming and replacement and removal. So we're imagining that the 500,000, I'm imagining, we're going to ask council for that to deal with all these
Existing, right?
the most urgent issues with the trees. And in our budgets, we have 0 Point lighting and landscaping. We have 27,000 to trim and replace trees. So let me go through each of these. I would expect that there's going to be some requests and some other needs. A tree could fall down in a storm, different problems, but we can assume at least some of that or more can be used to put back trees. So I'm hoping that we don't have to ask for more than 500,000 because that's already a huge bite out of the city budget apple. We have tree management plan. Some of those trees actually fall in SBLNL, and we could $20,000 worth, and we can probably pay for that out of that enterprise fund. GVMID, which is basically Crocker Park and the Northeast Ridge, there's $13,000 annually to trim and replace trees, assuming we get the same budget that we've gotten in past year. That's this year's budget. In our streets budget, which is everything besides GVMID and SPLNL, $13,000 to trim and replace trees. In the streets budget, $15,000 to replace trees, $30,000 to trim and maintain trees. In buildings and grounds, $4,000. And we have collected some in lieu funds to plant trees. There's about 14,000 there. So in all those budgets, there's about $100,000. So in my mind, that would be to go towards replanting, but we still need to ask for that money to remove.
So we need to ask for the
And-
510,000 that you show here, right, plus another 100 to.
No, we have the 100. We're already,
Oh, we already.
Yeah,
have
but we
that.
want to,
Okay.
we want to
Okay.
keep, that was, a
Keep
lot
it,
of that was
yeah.
in lieu fees, which means it
Yeah.
really should be used for planting.
Yes, yes.
Because that's kind of what it was collected for.
Can I,
Um,
can I ask two questions? I actually heard maintenance and planting in there. So there is
yeah,
some
there might
money
be some flexibility, yeah.
here and there scattered about. That 100,000, is that per year?
yes.
Okay, so
and
that,
we're spending that year over year
Right.
Yeah.
in all of the areas
Yeah.
in the city.
And would that cover the goal we're putting forth, the 23% canopy over the course of 15 years? I think it's what, around 280 trees per year? With that 100, no?
Because that canopy is also about private trees. You know, increasing the canopy involves people planting trees on private property.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we have the conversation about the canopy after figuring out this management plan and what you guys are recommending, and talk about ways that we can promote everyone else planting trees as well as the city. But that's, you know, we're not going to budget to plant all the private trees.
Right, I get
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I've got a plan to plant 20 trees on our property, but I need somebody to come and design a new driveway for me so that I don't have to pull out trees I've just planted. So if anybody would like to throw somebody at me who can design a driveway, I'm shilling for myself here, guys. Sorry.
This is, I know the budget's hard because the city has a lot of demand on budgets. And we need to be very cognizant of that, but also this is an important thing, especially with trees that are potentially dangerous, with not being, taken care of or removed if they need to be removed. After going to the Easter egg hunt and seeing how bad some of the trees are, really bad up there at the Littman School, it was a little scary. And they said they cleared a lot of, branches and dead tree stuff. And, there's always this cost weighing of between, oh, this is going to cost us this much. But if somebody gets killed by a tree, a city tree, it's going to cost us this much. So it's really a tough call. And I think that in a lot of ways, we can work on what we can do to mitigate the cost with volunteers removing ivy even off of city trees. That's something that's not so hard to do. But when it comes to like the big stuff, you wouldn't want volunteers climbing up trees, trimming them without. So we're really looking to staff to kind of guide us on this, I think. I mean, if I didn't have to think about all the other demands on the city budget, I'd be like, yeah, this sounds great.
We could do another round of, you need to take out this dead tree letters. We haven't done that for a couple of years, I don't think.
But we're talking city trees here.
Are the ones up at Littman city trees?
No, I was just using that as an example. Of,
Yeah, I
you
know
know.
there's some at Littman and some at BES. I mean, I think there's a few we could.
Yeah, that's a
I
whole
mean, there
other situation.
probably are other trees besides the city trees, but
Yeah.
that city
Yeah.
tree number is
Yeah.
500,000.
can I ask another clarifying question? This one's for Bob. I just want to make sure that the trees in at least phase 1, but possibly the trees in phase 1, 2, and 3 aren't there because they're trees that have vines that we think we can organize volunteers to remove, or trees that PG&E would be trimming anyway. Have we made sure that those trees aren't included in both lists?
Yes, that took a long time to make sure of, but and the vines, yes, I did factor out for all those things. So if there's any overlap, I guess maybe I wouldn't be surprised, but there's a lot of effort to make sure there aren't. And but, so we didn't identify vines as in the primary maintenance reasons. It wasn't on vines alone. So if they had vines, but other factors outside of vines, they might be in there, but not just based on vines, because with the intent that a lot of the vines can be handled with volunteer efforts. But if there were other factors like, high limbs and poor conditions and that kind of thing that made it on the list, that would exclude it. Does that make sense?
It does. You're awesome. Thank you.
And also to the heteromeles, I just looked it up again. I don't know. It does look like it's spelled correctly when I did a deeper dive. Anyway, I'll keep checking, but I'm not sure who raised that point. I didn't see the speaker screen.
It was Julia Armstrong.
Yeah, so I'll keep digging through it, but if email me in a couple weeks if it looks incorrect.
Tomato, tomato.
So the 510,000 over the next 5 years, you want us to,
No, I want to know if you want to recommend that is done in 5 years or a different length of time.
I recommend it's done in 5 years.
Well, I'm asking the whole committee.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm expressing my feeling to the committee, and I'd love to hear what everyone else says, but the reason why I think that is that, it'll only get worse as time goes on.
so when I look at the dollars and what we get for those dollars, it doesn't seem like a lot. So if you look at phase 1, it's 23 removals, 23 crown cleaning, and 7 pruning. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. And the same for phase 2, it's only 37 crown cleaning, 34 removals. And then phase 3 is 62 crowns and 9 removals.
Do we have dollar amounts for each phase? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
do.
have that
We do, yeah.
on this paper,
So
the
phase
screen that's
1
in front of
is
me.
129,000. Phase 2 is 185,000, and phase 3 is 196,000 for a total of approximately 510,000. And the recommendation here is to get it completed within 5 years. I think that's too long. I think we should be able to do that in 2 to 3 years, because it's not a lot. To me, it's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cost. We've had to take out trees. And we're probably gonna have to take out one very soon. Our apricot we've dumped so much money into maintenance, but we're losing it to canker anyway. And I think I usually budget about $2,000 to take out a tree. So I feel like maybe there's some, I don't know what the city's paying. The city may have different, and these may be really big trees,
Yeah.
Oh, we do
So-
have to pay state prevailing wage rates, and bigger trees can be
more
4,
expensive.
5,
Yeah.
10,000 if they're really
Yeah,
big, if they're not
yeah.
right on the street.
I mean, that's the other worry too, letting it go too long, we may end up replacing all those ones that that are under the maintenance bucket. So,
Yeah.
I looked at having a rather tall eucalyptus removed from a neighbor's property because I was hoping I could just be like, look, it's cheap, let's get rid of this. It was $4,000.
Yeah.
So 23 removals is $100,000, and then crown cleanings, that phase 1 number doesn't seem that off to me.
Yeah, it seems a little high to me, but not ridiculous. Especially if we're talking about really big trees,
Yeah.
I could
I'm
see
not
that.
talking about the money, I'm talking about the length of time.
Oh, yeah.
5 years
thought you were
is too
contesting the
long to
dollars.
do these 3 phases.
Got it.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what
I'd
I'm
like to
saying.
do it faster too, but the money only goes so far,
I
so.
know.
If the city can't,
I know, it doesn't grow on trees.
then maybe we, I don't know, maybe it becomes a 7-year plan. I'd rather they did it all tomorrow too, but.
Randy, you're awfully quiet.
I think the money impacts the timeline is the thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I guess I am a little bit quiet on this. It's always an exciting time of year when we go into budgets, and Public Works has 15 different divisions that we manage for the city, and we're talking about $14 million worth of budget, so we eat up a big chunk of the city's overall $40 million nut or so, and I think what we're trying to do here is get a sense from you of what a reasonable time frame is for this. We think we've got the numbers fairly close. It's like Bob would describe the one Canopy map. It's PGA. It's pretty good analysis. I mean, we're pretty close. The ultimate number on what the cost of this work will be is what a willing contractor is willing to do it for.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we think the cost is, right? We've got to put it out to public bid. But the position I'm in, and where I really would appreciate your help, is that I have to meet with the city manager and justify all my budget ask. And then he has to go to the city council and justify all his budget ask. So it's across all of the departments. So it's with that light shined on it, what sort of time frame do we think is reasonable? And when staff looked at it, our first shot was, we think we can get past that hurdle of asking for $100,000 a year to do this. And if the committee believes that's reasonable, we would love to have your support on that. If you think another time is reasonable, we're happy to take that up too. I'm trying to get success, as always.
Yeah, no. I would totally support this, and then I would hope that the council would have an appetite for doing it faster, but they may not, I think 5 years is a little slow, but I think given what you have to ask for, I think it's very reasonable and intelligent.
I think if you look at it in the guise of what sort of conversations the council's had during budget season over the last year, where they acknowledge that they have a structural deficit, somewhere around $1 million that we're in the red, to come in and start asking for a 10% adder to that over a 5-year period just may be tough. And again, I'm not a perfect soothsayer. I don't know exactly what their appetite is going to be. I have no idea what the other departments are going to ask. I just know where our needs are. Part of the reason also why I would hesitate to try and accelerate this is we do have some other asks that we're trying to do in OSEC. We're trying to convince the council to hire a management analyst full-time. And so you start adding all of those numbers up, and the money that gets budgeted against open space starts to look like a really big number. And I would like, again, to be successful with both of those asks.
Also with money for dark sky ordinance compliance and invasive species regulation compliance.
Yeah.
And those are 5-digit numbers, those asks too.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. One of the things that keeps coming back to my mind is that this is a safety issue on multiple levels. Tree health is. When a tree comes down unexpectedly, it costs us a lot more than if we anticipate and take care of the problem before it happens. And I really feel like we dodged a bullet, not this past winter, but the winter before, with the poplar trees falling at the marina. It could have easily taken out a person. And then, we've talked a lot about fire resiliency, and a sick tree is certainly a tree that is much more dangerous than a healthy tree for a wildland fire point of view. So it's hard. We could make a good case that this is a safety issue, not just an aesthetic issue at all. When we're talking about health of the tree canopy and the city-owned trees. And it costs us twice as much to take out one or remove it in an emergency than it does having a sensible maintenance program where we approach it with, let's take care of the worst problems first and move through them. Because by the time we get to the less worst problems, they'll be the worst problems 5 years from now. So it makes sense to ask.
Yeah.
So
And-
I'm assuming all of this is outsourced? You go to a third party and have all this work done?
The overwhelming majority of this will be yes. This
Right.
will not be.
So
what you're seeing here, yes. Not
Yes.
and
Yeah,
even some
because
of the
I'm
other
seeing
stuff
a
in the other
lot, I'm
budgets.
seeing a lot of pruning and crown cleaning. I mean, have you thought about bringing in-house a couple of FTEs to do this year round? That would save I mean, you would probably break even, but bringing people on board to do that. And that way we have these people year round to ensure that we maintain our trees. I mean, maybe it's think outside the
I think
box.
Mary has a great point. I mean, the cost may be in your favor. I mean, we should at least
Are
look
you
at it.
considering the trucks needed to do that, though? I mean, there's equipment that's
Right.
required in addition to people.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's
Yeah.
capital. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
to be honest, I haven't considered that. Most of what we've done over the years, it's been a long time since we've had what I would describe as a hands-on buildings and grounds team. Years ago, God, it's going back almost 20 years now. We used to have a true turf and landscape team, and we had a crew of 2 or 3 guys, and they ran all our mowers, all our weed whackers. They did a lot of the lower level maintenance on it. During the recession of '08, the city made an intentional decision to have retirements and rotate people into other departments and to turn buildings and grounds into very much of a contract-based work, although now we have a total of 5 people in that team, so it's better than it was. I don't think that we have enough work to go to the cost of hiring and fully staffing a tree crew.
Really?
I don't think
I have
2
a hard
people in
time
truck.
believing that just because of the marina, industrial, downtown Brisbane, the Ridge. I mean, there's always something that needs to, and if you add up all your external costs associated with all your vendors, it should be pretty close to being able to justify bringing back a small staff that can work this year round.
I think the first year of a small staff would go through $500,000 like that. I think the cost of the labor, the cost
Yeah.
of benefits for public
Yeah,
employees.
but I bet you if you
spending
add up all
$250,000 on
your
a truck.
external vendors, it's gonna come pretty close to that.
Not if we're just trying to get this, Mary, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, okay.
I'm trying to just attack this right
Yeah,
now.
I get it. I understand, but I'm advocating that we should take a look at bringing it in-house. I think we'll get more bang for our buck and we'll get regular maintenance on all our trees and, solve this goal of 23% canopy over the next multiple years.
Okay, all right. well, thank you for the input.
That's my opinion, so.
Well, you and I usually are of the same mind, but in this case, I think I'm not. Because to be a tree trimmer like this is a very physically demanding, dangerous job. And it requires a high skill set. And the time that you spend in that part of your career is very short. Usually 5 to 10 years before you cannot do that level of tree climbing work anymore.
I mean,
And
that's
so,
normal.
Yeah.
People come and go in jobs, right? So I'm
Well,
just saying.
City staff tends not to come and go.
Yeah,
They tend to
well,
come and stay. And so you're investing long-term in a person who will physically age out of being able to do that particular job.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen. This is why San Francisco State does have their own tree crew, but it's like a revolving door
Yeah,
because
there
work is so
constant
demanding.
attrition,
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it
I-
costs a lot to bring on an employee, and then you have an employee, and then it's hard to not have that employee anymore. So
I mean, if they did it on like a 5-year contract or something, I don't know.
that's not how city employment works.
Okay.
Yeah. But that wasn't the question. That's a
No,
good
it wasn't.
idea, but I can see where.
Well, yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how we can shorten that 5-year maintenance plan down to like 3.
Do you think
Because the
that,
longer we wait, the trees are gonna get worse.
I have a question. Do you think you could present 2 options, the 3-year plan and the 5-year plan? And hope they go for the 3-year plan safety-wise? We have another bad winter like we had 2 years ago. I mean, it's gonna suck that money up anyway.
Well, I almost wish we weren't being recorded because I could certainly, as a strategy, ask for it over 3 years. and then have 5 years in my back pocket.
Please,
but,
Randy.
but if my boss is watching this, he knows what's coming. So I feel like I've just negotiated against myself there.
Well, in that case, Randy, you should ask him for the 1 year or the 3 year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is,
There you go.
is there any kind of a bottleneck in terms of just capacity, like the number of trees you can possibly do in a year? Like if all of this money was forthcoming, would we be able to say, like, just do it this year?
In a year?
Yeah.
In a year, I think that would be a real mess in the
Yeah.
town. In 2 to 3 years, you could do it. I think capacity, and I'm thinking about doing it from a contractor perspective. I think there is the capacity with the tree companies out there to get it done over that time frame.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
3 years seems reasonable.
3 years, it could be done in. It's just a matter of money.
Yeah.
That's what everything comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
This is why so many of the other services we outsource to, we don't have our own streetlight crew. We have a contract with South San Francisco to do that. That's why we outsource street sweeping. 25 years ago, we had our own street sweeper. These are just things that we can't do. This is when we're doing large quantities of striping. Some cities have their own striping crews. At one point in time, we did. We just can't efficiently do that now and do all the other tasks we have. And we're trying, there's always, we have that push and pull about having staff. We've got, if you count all the divisions, we've got 27 people. It's a pretty big department as it is right now. And some of the things we just can't change, some of the things like the water and the sewer and the storm drain, those people we have to have, there's regulations that require us to have X amount of people to do certain types of activities. And so that's where I'm balancing. And as you can imagine, I'm happy to talk with it here. I'm happy that we've got, great defenders that want us to do more and would like us to have more money. I love that. But then I go up against the other needs of the city and the desires of the city. And the city's got a lot of things it wants to do. It wants to spend money reprogramming the former library. But
So
it's going to cost money, and that takes away from money available. So that's all. Those are my budget woes. Thank you for
I
this
think
therapeutic session with
part
me.
of the
That'll be
problem
$50,
is
Randy.
that I think part of the problem is that we're so used to doing things business as usual, and business as usual is not gonna fly anymore because the environment is gonna collapse around us. And so if we don't realign our priorities with that and abandon the business as usual model, we're gonna sink. And I think that unfortunately comes with a price tag, especially in the adaptation phase. And I think the cities I really hope to God our council understands that. And I don't know if they do or don't. We'll see.
I think they do. I do have a good idea for how to get new trees. I think, you know how successful the community garden is, and people just love to go and grow stuff? Well, maybe we should have our own little, community tree growing operation.
Yeah. I've grown a
And
couple of jacarandas from the seeds on my street tree and given them away. I mean,
so maybe having a program where we grow, people sign up to work on growing our replacement trees.
I think Adopt a Tree would be really successful, sure. Something like that.
Yeah.
And help people that, we could help plant it. Certainly the Public Works crew could do some of that too. But then, the upkeep of just watering the thing on a regular basis and making sure it's getting fed and making sure it's staying healthy and
Yeah.
just one
And
more
ha-
thing to watch. It's great.
And having an area where we can grow trees to a certain size so that they will survive when they're off-planted, instead of going and paying, $1,000 at a nursery for each tree. Someplace where they can grow for maybe 2 years, 3 years till they get big enough to.
Yeah, I think we touched upon that last meeting, talking about maybe Mission Blue Nursery could
I know
grow
that
some of those trees.
we don't have we don't grow anything that's not native.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you control the type of trees, right? So
Yeah, but we would want it for some of the trees that we're gonna be replacing. We wouldn't want necessarily all native trees. We need to have some diversity, a level
Yeah.
of diversity, so that they can respond to changing climate conditions. Look what happened right now. If you go back and you look, I'm sorry, this is the long view. All of those Monterey pines were all planted in the mid-60s. They all came from the same nursery stock.
yep.
And
Clones.
they all are dying because they don't have any diversity to combat what they're facing with the bark beetles. And if you go around and look at we have trees that are much older than them that are black pines and other pines and even Monterey pines, and they're okay. But all of those ones that were planted in the mid-60s up and down Crocker Park and around the schools and everything, they're all dying. Okay, and we don't want to have that same thing happen. So we need genetic diversity in the trees that we plant. And that means we shouldn't be going out and buying cloned nursery stock.
Yep.
And which is why I
Critical.
make a strong case for us to actually have a tree nursery where we do grow, just saying, because otherwise we'll just end up with the same problem over and over and over again. Like all those poplars, they were all the same nursery stock and they all, well,
I'm just waiting for the next bug that comes along and kills our ash trees on Biz.
killers are what?
Kills the ash, the Roman ashen trees, takes them all out at once.
Yeah, and this is why we need a very diversified profile of canopy trees.
Yeah, well,
And that's why in the study it said, don't have more than 10% of
yeah.
any particular tree.
Well, I'll pony up my backyard. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
big enough, but
Well, we have some space we could grow, trees maybe along the Guadalupe Trail, Crocker Trail or whatever. Maybe the Baylands will let us use some of that area that they had intended as a tree nursery that they're not using.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a while before they build out. A couple of years and grow a good tree. We just need someplace where we can water them or have some way to water them and people to look after them. So Randy, 3-year plan, 5-year backup. Everybody good with that?
I'm good. I'm down.
Are you guys good with that? Okay.
Thank you.
And then what's tree canopy goal recommendation? I had some comments from the last meeting because I watched carefully the meeting and I'm sorry I didn't get to make comments during the last meeting, but there was a couple things. One, the eucalyptus that you mentioned. Can I just bring this up because it's all relevant to trees? Up there where those eucalyptus trees were cut, there was a decision to leave the carcasses to rot because it would have been lots more money to take them out. Yeah. Yeah. And they went back and made sure that they didn't stump sprout and numerous times. A tree farm, community-based tree farm like the garden. And then on the carbon mitigation, I talked with briefly with Anthony. It's also the cooling factor where you won't be using as much air conditioning if you have a good canopy. But we also need to make sure that when we do this, we think about fire resiliency and that we don't plant things that are too close to the house and stuff like that. Yeah, Karen.
I did, with this being on the agenda, I did start a conversation with fire, and I was thinking that when we, this is on the agenda, but when we refine it, that we actually have the subcommittee meet with fire and talk about what they recommend and but the initial comments were like, we're not recommending X feet of defensible space, we're recommending that you maintain your trees and that they're healthy is more of a priority, and limb them up and get rid of the.
Yeah, Craig Whittier and Ron Myers have already reached out to have a meeting about that because I had talked to the city manager about fire resiliency in some of the areas that I see as potential corridors of danger for central Brisbane.
Right.
And then when we talk about what the coverage is going to be, it's interesting because there was a thing that was put out there on the county where it said that Brisbane only had 12% coverage of canopy, and whereas some of the other places like Portola Valley has like 60% canopy. But when they did their gross numbers there, they're including all of Brisbane, like the Baylands and the lagoon and the strip along, the water. And so it wasn't really a good way to look at it. And what you presented in here about I guess it's still in the rest of the agenda, but I thought it was really important to mention not using straight nursery stock for replacement trees, that we did have individually grown diversity. Those were some of the comments that came up. And that our the tree inventory that we did was much more sensitive because you could take those parts out, the quarry, the lagoon, the freeway, and the grasslands. So I like what we did on ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Canopy tool is split up by census tract, so you can, as, well, I don't know, Mary, do you want to talk at all? Do you want,
that census,
do you want us to put up the slides related to the Canopy goal?
if you want to, yeah, you can bring it up. Are you talking about the area name or the ID? That's the piece of information I think Bob was able to address, given he kind of revamped it a bit. So we're able to identify the Excel model he pulled out. That's the data I was trying to pull out when I was using it, and I couldn't. And I did, but it didn't make sense. It's like, well, how do I know what area needs trees based on this area name or ID? It's all these numbers that are.
Oh, I see. Well, at the last meeting, we had talked about what you guys brought forward as the Canopy goal, and the committee members had asked for a couple different scenarios. So that's kind of why we brought this back right now.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we initially had said 30%, and then we all had a discussion saying, is that too high?
Right.
And based on, what was it, Title 11? Title 11.
Title 24.
Oh, 24, Section 11?
Well, yeah, Cal
Yeah.
Green,
Yeah.
Title 24.
Yeah.
And I think you considered that, right?
Yeah,
in
we
the
did,
new
we
model,
did. And
which
so
is good.
if you look at the screen, the Canopy goal options, I think we walked away with a 23% number. And I don't know, the 23% numbers, can you scroll up a tad? Would make an assumption that we would be able to plant around 280 trees a year to get to that goal. But based on our prior conversation, we can't even replace 50 trees because of cost. But it's important that City Council know that if we're putting forth a 23% canopy goal, there needs to be some, it's either 23% or it's going to be 10% because of funding. So that needs to be very clear when presenting this to City Council. In addition to the 23% that we walked away from last meeting, there's two other scenarios as well with a 24% canopy, and then the Cal Green, which is the Title 24, bringing that goal up to 32% based on the included areas that we want to attack, excluding the Baylands and the quarry, and a few other areas. So I guess the question is, and the alignment that we need to come to an agreement on is 23% the right number to go before council with?
So what's the 25% with exceptions? What are we modeling there?
If the canopy was greater than 25% already, right?
Yeah, so areas that had more than 25% were left alone, and all the other areas were modeled to go to 25%. Can I also add about, I talked to Adrian about this a little bit, and the Cal Green, she thinks doesn't work because they want in undeveloped areas to fill them with trees, and we don't want to do that in our grassland areas. So that one the committee wanted to look at, but staff doesn't think that that's the direction we want to go. And then I also want to say, you know, we're trying to refine and choose a canopy goal, but remember, these are all over the city, not just on city property. So I feel like, I don't think we're going to take this straight to council just with a number. I think the committee needs to get back together and talk about what are the things we're going to do to get the word out to private property. And are we going to have a tree stock that people can do? Are we going to have volunteer effort? Are we going to just do a lot of outreach and kind of figure that out? And that would be a full thing that we would bring to council. So now we're just talking about, like, what is our target? What does the committee want to be the target?
Just for reference, I wrote down from that website, it's called Sustainable Salmontail. It's dashboard.sustainablesalmontail.org/?values. I can send this out to everybody. But that's the one where Brisbane was at 12%, and Daly City was at 12%, and Foster City was at 11%, and South San Francisco came in last at 9% canopy coverage. Portola Valley was at 60%, Hillsborough 55%, Atherton 54%, Woodside 54%, and then there was a Belmont at 33%, and then there was precipitous drop after that for all the cities in San
So
Mateo
were
County.
they including like the Baylands and the lagoon and stuff like that
It
when
was
they
hard
did
to
that
tell.
number? Yeah.
You couldn't drill down in the map, but I would say that they were based
Probably.
on how they usually do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it made us look like,
Yeah.
you know, and South City does only have about that for canopy because there is really not a lot of trees.
There's
in
not a
South
lot of
City.
Some of
trees in
those
South
high
City.
percentage ones, though, are highly
They're wood-
residential cities.
It's in the woods,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of, they have complete canopy coverage.
Well, they have very, very large lots that
very
were
big.
mandated to have landscaping and tree planting when they were built. And I don't think if we wanted to get rid of our housing stock and just put in the 10-acre lots with the $25 million homes that the NBA players could buy.
We need
Yeah,
to
that's
preserve
just-
our setbacks.
You notice the first five or four on this list are, you know, Portola Valley, Hillsborough, Atherton, and Woodside. What can I say? But I think 23% is a kind of an audacious, good goal for us, you know. But you're right, Karen. We need to like sort out what that exactly means and what kind of buy-in we can get community-wise and fire resiliency-wise. And then, you know, where can we fit them? Because with ADUs and everything else, we're covering, people are
Fucking
covering
crazy. Excuse me.
their entire lots with pavement and housing.
Yeah.
That exacerbates other problems of like runoff and the rest of it.
Privacy. I mean,
Mhm.
I have a neighbor whose neighbor put in an ADU, expanded their units, and now they've got like windows looking right into their bedroom that are like practically right up to the property line, and they're so mad. But they can't do anything about it because it's all baked in now. I thought when we said we were doing the Cal Green scenario, we said we weren't going to, last time when we talked about modeling the Cal Green, we said we weren't going to completely tree out the acres. We were just going to count them as they currently are. So I'm kind of confused by Adrian's comment.
What it says here on the document, it says to match the most recent California Building Code Cal Green goals of 20%, yada, yada. Lagoon and waterfront were excluded, as were any areas already above the goal that best matched the census block.
Okay. But then why were we discarding this because we can't make the 50% in undeveloped areas?
We don't want the 50% in undeveloped areas because we want to maintain our
Exactly.
grasslands.
Exactly.
So
So what part of the Cal Green goal do you like? Do you like 20% in developed areas? We can model that.
yeah, I mean, I thought we were modeling 20% in developed areas and then the acres as is. And to get the average, get the overall number that stems from that.
Mary, I wasn't at the.
Yeah,
Or did the staff do this without, were you not involved
I
in this
think,
next step?
because I didn't have a chance to meet with Adrian post last meeting, so I think some calcs were done outside of that. So I know because when I was reading the minutes, I kept going, I walked away with a 30% number in my head, but then it came back at 23%, which makes sense after reading the information. But, yeah, I don't know why we're not considering Cal Green. It probably just doesn't fit the geography here in Brisbane.
if you look
Right.
at the asterisk thing down below, it says this scenario is difficult
Yeah.
to model. because many census blocks have both developed and undeveloped. Furthermore, the quarry and the largest census block on the Baylands were modeled at 50% due to their current status, but that may not be appropriate or compatible with future development.
Okay.
So that's why it's skewed. That's what's throwing it off.
I mean,
But-
whether it's 20% or 23%, it's a good.
Or
it's a good- or-
32%,
right,
you know.
It's a good number. I mean, 30% would be definitely a reach. I mean, we already know that 20%'s not affordable, but,
I think the good thing about having the CalGreen is if someone asks, well, why are you using 23%?
Right.
You can say, well, 23, at least
I think
the
that's
minimum is
32% though.
Which one, the 20
The,
and the 50?
the Cal Green that came up with 32%.
Becomes 32. You mean
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's 2050, it becomes 32.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a good thing. Then you can say we're only at 23%, therefore this justifies
Yeah,
that
okay.
we're not reaching too far.
Yeah, okay.
In that
I
sense.
can buy that. I was just actually interested in the number
yeah.
that Cal Green would have
If
given
we were to
us,
model
but
it fully,
yeah.
like this is
Yeah.
a brand new development, and we
Yeah.
were going to meet Cal Green, how much would we have to do?
Yeah,
And it looks
I
like
mean,
the answer is 32,
about
but-
32%.
but the quarry would have to be counted and stuff, which wouldn't
Yeah.
really be realistic.
Yeah, we don't want to count that.
Right.
So, yeah, so, I mean, it's
Mhm.
good support to point
Mhm.
to if
Mhm.
someone were to ask.
Just
I
ask,
totally
like,
get
why
it.
did you
Yeah.
come up with
Yeah.
23 or
Mhm.
something?
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, we came up with 23, but if we were to follow the standards, it would be a lot higher. It would
Right.
be 32%.
Mhm.
So I think this is a conservative ask.
Mm.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you.
That's a good way to put it. Are we, everybody?
Everybody?
Yeah, I mean,
Erin?
I just think I'm a little disappointed that our plan is the lowest of the three. I kind of thought we were reaching a little harder than that, but if the committee wants to go with 23, I'm 23 is better than 22. So-
Oh,
When
yeah.
you go to the other side of the table and you see that that's 400 trees that need to be planted every year and it's for 15 years.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
And
But
I
you know,
don't-
if we hadn't destroyed 70 to 80% of the Earth's forests, we wouldn't be in this position.
I-
Oops.
I completely hear that too.
And the thing is, on one hand, we're going and we're saying we need $500,000 to cut away all these trees, and then at the same conversation, we want to plant trees. So, we have to be somewhat reasonable, right? I think this is very reasonable, saying we're planting new trees, we're making sure we're going to have the setbacks, and they're not, they're going to be fire resistant as much as possible. In the sense, we're going to follow the rules, and we think
Yeah.
23% is a good start, and maybe we'll relook at it 5 years from now or something.
And remember that the $500,000 isn't just to remove trees. It is to
Clean
keep
up,
trees that we
maintain,
already
yeah.
have, that we've already invested in, and to keep them healthy. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Especially because the trees we plant now at, if we're lucky, 400 a year for 15 years, still won't be mature by the end of that time. So we need our mature trees.
Yeah. And so that investment is well worth it. It broke my heart to have them cut down, some of the street trees that were 30 years old because
yeah.
they were dropping stuff on somebody's car. I still haven't gotten over that.
The big one that was taken out by the church on Alvarado and San Bruno still hasn't been replaced.
Alvarado.
Okay, so again, subcommittee, we'll
Yep,
look at
yep,
that
yep,
and
yep.
we'll
Okay, shut
we'll
up.
definitely try to get
Yep.
that to happen and see what resources are needed to make sure that all that happens. So what I'm hearing is that the committee as a whole is comfortable with this first goal that we had last time with the resulting citywide canopy of 23%, and the subcommittee, tree subcommittee, is going to meet to further refine ways that we can reach that goal and make sure that we're in concert with fire. That was the last meeting. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, is everything good again? Okay. I just have a question because I'm supposed to set up a meeting with Brisbane Fire Department with Craig Whittier. And does the other two members of the subcommittee want to join me in that meeting? Or shall I do it by myself? Because it'll probably be during the day.
I can't come, but I want to. So, what?
I don't know. I have to ask them.
Okay.
Okay.
Send me the information and I'll see.
Okay. And Mary?
Or you could ask if they can do hybrid. And when,
Yeah.
We can do a hybrid meeting.
when Barbara could jump on.
Okay.
All right, so we have marching orders on that. Can we go back to the agenda?
Great work. Great work, you guys. Really amazing.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob and all you guys and Adrian and really good.
Given the
Yeah, it's definitely a group effort. I'm gonna log off because I will see you guys all hopefully sometime soon.
Bob,
Thank
it
you-
was
thank
great
you,
to
Bob.
see you, even if it's video.
Thank you, Bob. Given the recent past, I do not have any particular staff updates. Anybody else? I don't, Molly probably doesn't. Dolores? We'll just move on to subcommittee reports. Molly asked me and changed the staff support for the time being. So some of the names are different. We don't have Adrian on staff support for the next few months.
Events?
Well, we have two events coming up, which I already, mentioned at the beginning. We have the April 26th, this Saturday, the Habitat Restoration Day. And then we have May 3rd, the Frog Habitat Restoration Day. And then I think we're going to talk about having an event in the summer. And then there was some talk about having a dark skies meeting hike.
Yeah, there was some email about that. I don't, does the committee, I could move to the calendar, I guess, for a sec.
Was
Do we
that
wanna do
something
on
that the committee,
Last year, it was a big deal to do it without a full moon, and so I think we picked some days and then asked, and then it sounded like it didn't matter so much if there was a full moon, so
Because
then we
it
just
didn't
then we
come
just
up in
kind of then
time.
we just stopped conversing about it. So I guess
Yeah, I think that ball just went by the wayside.
yeah. So should we wait till next year, or should we keep doing it?
I did send a whole timesheet of when the sunrise and sunsets are and everything like that. Because one of the things that was nice was to be able to actually
Yeah.
have some daylight to hike up and then hike down. So if we're interested.
Okay, so how about you and I and whoever else is on that committee or group keep talking about that. So no progress.
Okay. No progress.
Can we go back to,
Right, and think about the work on the Baylands, because that would be in lieu of a meeting, so.
Yeah,
Just keep
that's
that in
the
mind.
problem.
education and outreach?
The only thing that has happened is the library display, which we saw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And I'm assuming we will have to meet because will the education and outreach, will we be charged with educating the public on the trees, right? On what trees they can plant, blah, blah, blah. I think that's where we need to meet and talk about different ways we can provide the tree subcommittee with what we'll be able to do as far as educating the Brisbane community on tree planting and tree care, i.e. the vine app, right? Or what was it, the vine? Removing the vines from the trees and putting a small committee together to attack that as well. So I think that will fall under education and outreach once we come up with a plan.
When does the display at the library need to be changed? I can't remember the
think,
cadence on that.
It's quarterly. So I'm assuming we probably need to pull something together,
Yeah.
June, July timeframe, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can follow back up with you guys, but yeah, I'll try to follow the same schedule that Adrian had you at.
Yes, okay.
And I'll email you with some dates.
Okay.
See if we can meet up and discuss something for that as well.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Climate action?
We haven't met.
Okay, open space
Wait,
plan.
wait, wait. Climate Action is meeting next Wednesday at 6:30.
Next Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a meeting next Wednesday, but hasn't happened yet.
Oh, no, we're planning. We've got staff ready.
Oh, yeah, no, I know it's planned. It just
Okay.
hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Open space plan update. I went to the planning commission meeting where they got an introduction of the open space plan update for the general plan.
Open space element.
Element, right. And apparently that's coming to us in a meeting soon.
Our May meeting.
Pardon?
Our next meeting.
Our May meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. So just, everybody might want to familiarize themselves with the current open space element in the general plan. And then, maybe we could send that, information so that people are more, up on what it was and what the changes are proposing, so that we can have an actual very robust, study session for, our next meeting. But they're updating the 1994 general plan open space element to coincide with the new laws in the state of California.
Can I ask a question about what I'm looking at? It says that Noonan is part of this ad
This
hoc
Is
subcommittee.
the old list.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it hasn't been updated yet.
Thank you.
So I know Molly will be on it in a heartbeat.
Miss that. Does anybody else want to join that other than Mary and Michelle?
Yes. Anybody? It's, yay!
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Crocker Trail Habitat. Mary?
So our frog habitat cleanup restoration is May the 3rd, 9:30 to 12. And someone had mentioned we already have 21 folks signed up. We're limiting it to 25, and I think we are ready to roll. Just the logistics, the lunch and stuff, I'm assuming that's happening on the back end. We don't need to do anything here, right?
Yeah.
Do I need to do
Paul.
anything, or?
I think Paul's the lead with all that.
Okay.
Did you join?
I
Julie?
did. I was just going to say, I think I replaced the Noonan name on that in the
Okay.
previous meeting.
Couple
so you
things
can
slipped through the
update that.
cracks. We'll
If I
fix
already
them.
had you written in.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. It'll be nice to see when we're done planting. But it looks great now. I mean, Paul did a great job, so we're lucky to have him.
When you have an event like that, Mary, do people take photographs? Does it become an article? Or is there any kind of,
I mean, people do take
Documentation.
pictures. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we can get it into
yeah,
the
seems
the
like it would make
blast, right?
a nice,
Yeah.
something.
And maybe in the star. So yeah, please take pictures.
Yeah, we'll make sure
Yeah.
we do that
Yeah.
and provide that to, I guess, Caroline, right? Yeah.
Or
okay.
or to me, depending
Okay.
on who's going to write it. Maybe we'll write it up. And that can be another place to appeal to people to be stewards.
Oh, yes.
Okay, tree issues. We have beat that to death tonight, but we do need to schedule a subcommittee meeting. So let's do that before we leave tonight. And then we have the Baylands specific plans. I think we've also gone over all of that. And the liaisons to the city council, we did.
Yeah, everything below,
Pardon?
everything below it was inactive as of last month.
Oh, but we did have a meeting with the liaisons.
Oh, right, that's true.
And Anthony and I met, and we do have our work plan that was approved. And here's a copy of it. So we can maybe publish that for everybody?
That was approved by the liaisons, but I should bring it to council as a consent.
Pardon?
I should bring it to the full council as a consent calendar item, but yeah, I can
Okay,
send it around.
cool. There was no surprises, except we have a lot of work to do. And is there anything, oh, PCA grant. The PCA grant's not, hasn't come forth yet, but they did put out a thing to, if we wanted to update any of our PCA areas. So I'm hoping, but I just found out about it. They never notify us proper, the PCA people. We have till May 5th and I'd like us to add those 6 additional properties that now qualify. At the very least, that we could add that. Everything else is, I think, up to date because we did the whole PCA map. So I'm going to look at that tomorrow and see whether we can do that because the staff is really overloaded to be able to do that. But see if we can add those 6 extra, update that. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, we've got plenty on there for them, but since they're ABAG and they asked for that, maybe we can do that. I think that's. Yeah. I mean, if we can do it, we can do it. It's not the grant part, it's just the part where we update our priority conservation area maps, kind of, I think. Is that correct, Karen?
Yeah, when we first applied for one, you apply to its ABAG and they review and decide. I don't know who they've turned down, but you have to do an application and they say, yes, you can amend your map. And then everything within your priority conservation area qualifies to go after the grant money for.
Okay. Anything else on this? Shall we move on? Okay. Calendar, is that next? Is there anything on the calendar that, let's see, we're in May. Bike to Work Day is coming up. Is anybody working on Bike to Work?
I think the rec department is probably doing it.
We don't usually work on it per se. We just usually try to get a couple committee members to volunteer to go out and be there.
Okay.
It's not a thing that we organize. Park and Rec organizes it. We just support.
And then the other thing is for June or July, habitat restoration event. That's kind of to be determined. Do we want to try to have another habitat restoration event in the summer? How does the committee feel about that?
I'm feeling like the Baylands is going to suck up all my bandwidth. Honestly, yeah.
Well, we'll table that till next month, I think, and see what comes up. And then we have Coastal Cleanup Day, Day in the Park, and Winter Cleanup. And please, everybody be thinking about what we want to do for Day in the Park. Let's all come up with some good ideas because I don't want to just have a table full of brochures. I want to do something that's like fun and active. I guess that's it for calendar unless anybody has anything else on calendars.
We got the vegetation management plan coming up. I think you already said that, and that's fine, yeah.
And then here's our cool and groovy flyer for Earth Day. It's this Saturday.
What had happened with the compost giveaway?
It's there. It's
Okay.
being given away.
I never saw it posted. I guess I just missed it.
You have to
It was
read.
early in April, and I thought it was in the blast.
It was in the blast,
was.
and there was a big pile underneath the tunnel bridge.
I'm an inconsistent blast reader. So.
Well, the blast, you gotta read the blast because everything's in the blast. And here is our Cool and Groovy Frog Habitat Restoration Day flyer. And I think it's now Chair and Committee Matters. Is there any Chair and Committee Matters from anybody? Does that mean we're done?
I think we're done.
I have
Next.
a question.
Yeah.
We talked at the end of the last meeting about required training. I think it was anti-harassment training.
Yes.
And it was noted that if you had taken the course and had a certificate, So I sent my certificate and Adrian forwarded it and I never heard back.
Well, that must mean you're good.
Okay.
I took the harassment
we-
training. Did
we-
everyone?
No
Staff-
news.
Are you harassing my staff now, ma'am, while you're asking that?
Yeah.
Staff hears back if anyone hasn't completed it, so you
Okay.
must have got a gold star.
Oh, that reminds me, I completed it, but their certificate they sent me didn't have the date on it. So I'm like, how rude is that? I just did it, and then my certificate didn't have a date.
Is it on an email with a date?
Yeah, I'm
maybe
gonna have to go
that's-
back and dig.
that might
From
be
your
on there.
work, you mean?
Super annoying, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna have to
can I-
dig.
Can I ask a
I don't know
question?
who to
When,
look from the email
when
from.
is our June
It's
meeting,
some
June
random
25th?
person in HR, I don't know.
That would be the 4th. And July would
Yes.
be July 23rd.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got the, and then August is going to be August 27th?
Yes.
Okay. We don't get a free month in December.
February, I mean, November.
Yeah, okay, good. Anybody else? Anything else? Randy, thank you for joining us for the whole meeting.
My pleasure.
And Molly, thank you for joining us for the duration. And Dolores and Karen, we're always really happy to have you guys. So this meeting is adjourned.